Yeah. Hey, what's up, everybody? Chris Gentry with my service area in Happy Cans, back with another episode. A little different today. We actually interviewing a lawn care business out of Alabama, and I will turn it over to Jason Creel and let him introduce himself.
Thanks, Chris. Appreciate you having me on. Yeah, I'm Jason Creel. Just reminded me to put my phone on silent while I do this. And I will go ahead and let you know I've got 4 kids and I'm at home. So, ignore any noises in the background. But yeah, I run a weed control and fertilization company outside of Birmingham, Alabama. My company's called Alabama Lawn Pros. And then I do a lot of YouTube content is my primary platform online, and my channel is called Lawn Care Life. So I teach people how to start a lawn business, how to do weed control, how to make your own lawn look better. Just about anything lawn care related, I talk about it on YouTube.
Gotcha. Just a quick note, I will have links to all of Jason's sites and media in the description for those of you that definitely I recommend going out and checking out Jason and following his information or following his channels. So Jason, how long have you been in the business? Because I know, after, we've, I guess I reached out to you blindly, but now that following you, now how long have you been doing the lawn care and I guess now weed control?
Yeah, I was thinking about that the other day. I think this is my 15th year. So I've been doing it for a while, long enough to, I know more than I used to, I guess you would say. Maybe I'm like the country song. I'm not as good as I once was, but I'm as good once as I ever was. But I've been I started 2007, I believe. So I think counting backwards is my 15th year.
Now, did you start out with lawn care or did you go immediately into spraying? Because I know now, I think a lot of your core business is on the spraying side, correct?
Yeah, I'm pretty much a weed control and fertilization guy. I mean, there's some things that go along with that now, like fire ant control and, but I mean, that it's all sort of related to turf care. But I started off like a lot of people mowing lawns, and I'm still a big fan of mowing lawns, and I think that 0-turn mowers are cool and things like that. But I transitioned. We moved several years back, and when I moved, I had, obviously lawn business. One of the problems when you move, you can't really take it with you. So I was sold some of my business. When I relocated, I started mowing and spraying, and then sort of the spraying intrigued me a little bit more at that point. So I'm exclusively a spray company at this point.
And I'm sure, with spraying, you have only maybe a few pieces of equipment. So now your revenue or your profit margin probably goes up as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's just in general, it's more profitable. I mean, that's not just me. Like I tell people, I would, when I was mowing and spraying both. I mean, it's a little hard to juggle those two unless you have some more people involved and maybe a designated mowing truck, a designated spray truck. But like I go do the same yard and I'd mow it and charge, let's say $50, and it'd take me 45 minutes. And then I'd spray it and I'd charge them $60 and take 8 minutes, And I was like, I just kind of started thinking about it. It's like, I think I'm going to focus on the one. Again, I'm not anti-mowing. And I tell people all the time, there's a company down the road from me, I think does like 50 million in a year in revenue. And they do a lot of maintenance, and and they, do landscape and all that too. But there's a lot of money to be made mowing grass. But for a small solo operator, which is what I am at this point, or even if you want to grow and have 2 or 3 employees, I do think the spraying is more profitable than the mowing.
Gotcha. That makes sense. We're always talking about, efficiencies. How do you become more efficient, add to the bottom line, marketing efforts. When you first started out, what systems if you take from where you started and where you are today, and I imagine there are probably a ton of lessons learned, and maybe even some expensive ones from then to today. Where did you start from managing your system to where you are today? And what I mean by that is, systems that you put in place.
Well, the word systems, I've heard that word so many times, and it's a frustrating word for me, just to be honest with you, because I know that like businesses that are able to scale and get everything running, they talk about I put systems in place, and so I think just about everybody has some type of systems now, whether they're good or not. Anyway, like I said, I'm not sure I've ever cracked the code totally on how to get the systems up and running, because I think I've heard, I'm trying to remember what book it was. You may know if I start telling this, but people talk about like McDonald's, it's the systems in place at McDonald's that they operate the same. If you go to Chick-fil-A or something, like the people are interchangeable, the systems are in place where those things just run like clockwork. And they just know if you go build one in some random town, guess what? It's going to do great and make a lot of money. Well, that becomes tricky for a lot of lawn care people, and it's beyond tricky for me. And maybe some of that is my personality being a little bit of a micromanager and stuff, and not doing a great job of handing things over to systems and saying I'll just do it all myself kind of thing. So I struggle with a little bit of that, which I'm not necessarily proud of, but I just sort of embrace it at this point. But to answer your question, like I do, I use a software called Yardbook, which is a lawn care specific software. I guess you could probably use it for other service industries, but that definitely helps. And I'm trying to think just as far as when you say systems, I'm like, what do I do when like, how do I get a lead? And when I get a lead, how do I close that lead, and how do I get them in my system and then take it on? So I'll give you an example, maybe a real life example. So this is kind of our busy season, getting up on spring. My phone's about to start ringing. Nobody calls me in the fall, just about, which is somewhat great. But anyway, it starts ringing now. And so yesterday I get a lead. It was on my website. So, you got to have a way to generate lead. I got a website. I rank well on Google locally. People find me. This guy, interesting enough, he says, hey, in the comment section, he puts name, address, phone number, all that. But then in the comment section, he says, hey, big fan of your YouTube channel, but I need to hand it over and let you start handling my yard instead of doing it myself. So this guy actually watched me on YouTube. Which is, I get those occasionally.
So which customer was it, or which prospect was he?
Yeah, well, I mean, he lives locally, and I do occasionally have local people that say, hey, I watch you on YouTube, or, at the grocery store or whatever. Right. So this guy reaches out, but he's reaching out to me, and I try to separate YouTube world from my local biz. So I call him, I'm Jason from Alabama Lawn Pros. I'm not Jason from Lawn Care Life on YouTube. But anyway, it did help. I felt like that was a pretty hot lead coming in, because he's like looking forward to working with you. So I called him, get that. I personally, they comes to my email, but I like to call them as quick as possible and get in touch with them. And so for that point on, especially this time of year, response time becomes critical. So I go out there same day. I'm able to, as far as the system save me some time, I'm able to use the software to measure the yard and get a square footage, which is going to be my primary factor as far as coming up with a price. Then I have a pricing chart. I'm not just pulling a price out of thin air. So I have a pricing chart based on the square footages of the lawn. So I pretty much know the price when I get out there, but I want to see the yard, see what kind of weeds is in the yard. So I go out there, he's home. And at that point, I'm a salesperson, and I'm engaging him, trying to show my expertise by talking to him about some of the weeds. And this weed will go away soon, but this one will be starting. So we need to apply just talking lawn stuff. I think at that point, you don't want to overwhelm them, and most people don't want to know like every detail of what you're doing. So don't go crazy with it, but just tell them some basics to kind of establish some credibility, if you will, and then letting him know that I'm going to get out there for that first service as quick as possible. So I'm actually going back today for the first service, and then at that point, I'm focused on systems here. I know I'm getting a long answer here, but I go back and I use my software yard book and I put him in. His name, address. I talked to him about the billing options. I prefer for him to prepay for the year with a 5% discount or put a credit card on file. He said he wanted to do a credit card on file. Put him in the computer. There's a link I can hit and it sends him a secure email where he can add his own credit card on file. I'll just see the last 4 digits. And I'm able to charge
let me
time.
Ask you, let me, sorry to interrupt you. Let me ask you a question.
No, that was pretty much the end of my answer.
Well, I wanted to ask you a question about the credit card because I'm in the bin cleaning business.
Yeah.
And obviously there's a lot of similarities to the lawn care and the bin cleaning business because you're looking how to be efficient as possible from your density and your routes that you create. Do you ever get pushback on the credit card on file?
A little bit, and what basically happened for me, I've been doing this for a long time, and I haven't hardly ever pushed that until this off season, and I just got tired of most people eventually pay you, but they require multiple text reminders for certain people. Now you got the majority just pay great, and it's never a problem. I kind of got tired of the 10%, let's say, that I was constantly have to remind. And the software, again, another system, the software automatically send them a reminder after 30 days or so, or however long you set it up for. But you still wouldn't pay. And I just have to text them and they'd be, I'm so sorry, I'll send it over and all that. Well, I'm tired of that. I'm so sorry, I'll send it. I'm like, just pay, man. I just, there's hundreds of customers. I don't want to think about it. Okay. So I really started making a push for the credit card on file and, or the prepay, which is also great. And, maybe half of them came on board with that. The other half, if they were a great customer and they pay consistently, I wasn't going to risk losing the customer over that. I'm like, they already pay great. It's fine. But now on the other hand, if they were one of those in that 10% that I was constantly have to remind, at that point, I did force the issue. And I was like, I'm sorry, these are your 2 options. And some of them went ahead and paid for the year or put a card on file, and others didn't respond and they were taken off the list. Yeah.
In my world, we do, especially in the summertime, we'll do a lot of one-time cleanings. And
okay.
In the past, it was, we'll come do the service and send you an invoice afterwards. Well, you get burned on, $50, $75, $100 stop once or twice. You need to change something. So I quickly realized that you need to collect that money up front before a drop of water touches their trash can. Yeah. So that's why I just asked about the credit card, because that's the same thing that I struggle with too. Is some people will be more than happy to put their credit card on file, and then there are the other ones. It's like pulling teeth, saying,
yeah. To me, the thing about it is like people pay so much online, automated. Their power bill and their gas bill and their water bill and insurance and all kind of stuff is automated, and then they'll throw their arms up in the air about the lawn care, like the lawn care guy's gonna, it's not like I'm in my bedroom swiping credit cards, number, like it's a gigantic. I use Stripe is the name of the credit card processing. Right. Yep. It's gigantic. It's as secure as any. There's something about the lawn care guy or the garbage can guy. They think, oh, it sounds more risky. I'm like,
there is absolutely nothing that is 100% secure.
Yeah. I have one person. Quick story. One person last year told me that they put their card on file with me or charged a card or something. They said it got hacked and they had to get the FBI involved and all this other stuff. I was like, I don't know what I don't know anything about that. So anyway.
Well, that happened with Experian here in South Carolina a few years ago. It got hacked, and my wife and I received a letter saying, hey, your information was part of that 15 million or 20 million, records that got stolen. But it's going to happen. It's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when it happens.
That's right.
Unfortunately. But we digress and go down a wormhole of cybersecurity all of a sudden. So what are some things that you're doing differently now that you may have done in the past with, did you say yes to a lot of people that you shouldn't have said yes to?
Yeah, I mean, if I look back, like I said, this is my third lawn business. I've kind of, it's like playing golf.
Got it nailed down.
Well, you play golf, and you miss a putt, and then you put the ball down again, and you make it on the second try. I was like, well, and so I'm on my third try, and so I'm making a lot more putts than I did my first try. But I think for me, I look back, I am a little frustrated, but I mean, you have to learn from these things. I'm frustrated. I've probably left a lot of money on the table, but like I said, learning experience. So what I'm doing, I think you said, like with garbage can, I don't know anything about cleaning garbage cans, but I'm assuming you can't just go drive 20 minutes to go clean a garbage can. Like, you got to really have them tight. And lawn care is not much different than that. And I tell people, if I'm doing a 25,000 landscape makeover or whatever, $25,000, well, yeah, I'll drive 30 minutes to go do that. I don't do that kind of work, but now if you out there spraying somebody's yard for $50, you can't, people are like, that's $50, but yeah, you have to have them stacked together, in my opinion, to make it. So now if you were mowing in some giant apartment complex, just paying you $800 every time you come or something else. So for me, it's these neighborhoods, they're stacked in there. And I think, when I started, I just didn't think that way. I don't know why, but I would drive out of the way for a $35 mow. And you say, yeah, it only took me, 20 minutes to mow it, to cut an edge, blow, whatever. And I got $35, but the drive time. And then, so for me, I mean, when I downsized my business a couple of years ago, I had gotten up a little bit bigger, and that was a great opportunity for me to really tighten up my route. So when I sold off some customers, I was selling off the outer extremes, and I probably 75% of my business now is in my little town, which is 25,000 people. So I'm and I added benefit of that is not only you make more money, but just lifestyle. I've got 4, fairly young kids, and I'm home for lunch a lot because daddy's just working right down the road. And so there's other benefits besides just making money. You get, your lifestyle improves as well.
Excuse me. Sneezed.
Yeah, I saw you. I thought, well, what was going on there?
Yeah. Woo. Yeah. So tight routes, efficiency. There's, it always amazes me that people, in these Facebook groups that I'm in on the bin cleaning is that we haven't figured out how to say no. We see those dollar signs, and especially when you're starting out in business, you see those dollar signs and you just want to say, yes, let me get some revenue in. But then you realize that, wait a minute, it took me 35 minutes one way to get there, even if it was only 5 miles away because of traffic, what have you. It took me another 10, 15 minutes to clean the can. Now I got to drive, to that next stop. And that was $50. And how much is that is really profit when you start breaking that down? And then when you start thinking about wear and tear on your equipment, I mean, fuel prices are crazy. What are you guys paying for a gallon of fuel in Alabama?
$3.29.
Okay.
I think that's about to keep going up, my understanding.
Well, especially after what happened last night.
Yeah.
Which is extremely unfortunate. But we're about the same. We're in that 320s, high 20s to low like 331. I think I saw yesterday. But I mean, that it's already, affected my bottom line when I look at my fuel cost. So that's why, like you, I know you said it, a million times on your YouTube channel is, talking about being efficient and creating those dense routes. So
yeah, I did. I was going to say one more thing real quick, Chris.
okay.
I did a video recently I thought was a good idea about, it was lawn care pricing is overrated. And what I meant by that was, somebody that charges $49, one chunk, if I charge $49 and my competitor charges $53, if my route is much more efficient, I'll actually do better than they will. So pricing is obviously huge, and
Right.
underpricing yourself is a killer also. So it was more of a catchy title, but I'm not throwing pricing under the bus, but your pricing is not going to necessarily fix your horrible efficiency. So, if you got an efficient route, can even, it can help you out a lot on pricing. Because like I said, if I'm already established in a neighborhood, I can probably charge a slightly lesser rate in that neighborhood, beat my competition on price, and still be blowing them away on profit. Now maybe you don't have to cut your price. I'm just saying, people all the time, I hear people all the time talk about, we need to raise your prices, but they don't. And yeah, that may be true. I get that, but you might also look and like, I could double that guy's price and it still would be a bad yard because I'm driving way out of the way. I mean, at some point it's just not a good customer to have.
Yeah, I mean, the more we talk, I mean, just the similarities on these two business models are so great, because I hear it too. A lot of people talk about customer count. How many customers you have? That seems to be the big question.
Yeah.
Well, I would rather have 500 customers that I can travel. I can do a 30-40 mile round trip in one day than do a 7,500 mile round trip in one day and service 600 or 700 clients, whatever that number is. Because you're going to, that lower number, that tighter route is obviously going to be more profitable.
Yeah.
Even when I guess you consider, unless they're charging $100 a can, in my world.
Yeah.
So be mindful of your time here. Let me ask a couple of questions. So what has been a big challenge that you've had, and then how have you overcome that challenge?
Okay, let's see. I think, and I hadn't thought about this a whole lot before, but let me just say, I think I'm gonna evaluate myself. Okay, I'm gonna try to make this relevant to other people, but I think you have to really be honest about who you are as a person and what skills you bring to the table. So, for instance, years ago, I was at a terrible job and had some guy that was super outgoing. I'm kind of introverted, and he said, you need to get a sales job and it'll teach you how to talk to people. So I went and sold copier machines, big fancy ones. Well, I was terrible at it. And it just wasn't a good fit, but maybe it helped to serve the purpose a little bit. I think I'm actually pretty decent at selling lawn care because it's something I know a little bit about, and I have a lot more passion about that. And I do copy machines. I don't know anybody that's real passionate about copy machines. But anyway, I think you have to evaluate yourself as a business owner and say, these are my strengths. So I'm really good at these, but these over here are my weaknesses. I don't know almost anybody that's good at everything, so for me, I'm not a great salesperson, but I had to grow in that and learning how to sell the job. I'm not, I struggle micromanaging and not being able to manage people that well. So I either have to just be solo, which is kind of what I did, just avoid the problem, or you have to maybe hire somebody who can manage. If you're trying to grow big and have multiple trucks and all that, maybe you find somebody on your team that can make up for your weaknesses. So, I don't know. I think just trying to quit comparing yourself to other people, because I would struggle with that. I'm like, their business is doing this, their business is doing that. I just had to kind of embrace who I am. I'm a hard worker who's very self-motivated, has pretty good common sense when it comes to business, but I'm not probably great at managing people. And I was like, you know what? I think I can have a really successful solo business, which is kind of what I enjoy. I want to be out there doing stuff anyway, and then do YouTube on the side. and be home with my family some. And that was a fit for me, as opposed to thinking, well, so-and-so's got 4, 5, 6 trucks. I need to try to get 4, 5, 6 trucks, knowing that would probably make me so miserable as a human that I don't know if I could function, So anyway, I don't know if that's a strange answer to the question, but that's kind of where my mind went.
No, so that you were having some, I guess, personal challenges, I'll say that, of, comparing yourself to others. And the way that you solve that is just becoming more self-aware, right?
Yeah, I think so. Because like I said, at the end of the day, you hear people talk about working on your weaknesses. Should you spend time focusing on your strengths or try to improve your weaknesses? Like me going and selling copy machines, that's me working on my weaknesses. Well, I mean, that's only going to last for so long. I could work on copying sales for now on, and I would probably wouldn't be good at it, So, but I got back into what I'm good at, and I'm doing great at that. So, I don't know. As far as other challenges go and things, people right now are struggling big time with hiring and getting employees and things like that. So I'm sort of thankful I'm solo at the moment. I show up for work every day, which is great. And so anyway, there are challenges in business. And they're not always, some people, like say, I'm going to use your business example, garbage can and what I do, the weed control, you really need hundreds of customers to make it, where you can go mow 50 yards and do okay. But I can't have 50 yards. I won't make anything. So there's a marketing side to it. I wasn't a great marketer, so I had to get somebody who could make my website or improve it at least. Again, some people are so intimidated by that. I could never get 400, 500, 600 customers, and they can't do it. And so I don't know. Yeah, a lot of it's just self-taught kind of thing. There's so much information on the internet. I have to go out there and learn how to be a better marketer. How do you get your business to rank on Google? Well, I just ask Google how to get my business, how to rank on Google. And if I don't want to do it or can't do it, you have to hire somebody to do it. But you have to be conscious of, like, this is important. If I'm not ranking on Google locally, I'm really a disservice to myself, to my business here. So,
yeah. So on that note, what channel has been the best marketing channel for you?
You talking about like a channel, like YouTube channel?
No, I'm sorry. Okay, has it been like Facebook ads, direct
mail? How do I get customers? Yeah. Well, now that I'm sort of established, I don't do a lot of marketing because I'm sort of content being solo. So I'm really being selective who I take on. But two things I did that have worked really well. One was the website is definitely my number one way to get customers. And that can be frustrating for a lot of people because they go build a website or maybe even pay somebody thousands of dollars to build a website, and it's not ranking on the search engines. And so they're really not getting much return. Mine, it ranks well, and some of that might have to do that I have an online presence in other areas and people all the time clicking on my website and all that. But I rank well locally. And there's some things you can do for that, help get reviews and, get Instagram and YouTube and Facebook and all that, making showing Google how important your business is so that you'll rank well. And unless they're having a lot of reviews, if you got somebody who's just got 2 reviews, you're probably not going to get called compared to the guy who's got 400, Yeah. So there's some practical things. So the website, definitely number one way I've gotten leads. The other thing I've done is when I went to solely doing weed control and fertilization, I knew as a mowing guy, I was all the time being asked, who do you recommend for spraying yards? So what I did, I got on these local Facebook groups. I started searching for the keyword lawn, and it would be somebody searching for locally, like, who do y'all recommend to mow my lawn? Who do you recommend to spray my lawn? Well, I start finding all these mowing companies that a lot of them don't even have website. It's just the one guy in his truck out there. I started reaching out, I started calling on them and cold calling on them. And I said, hey, I'm Jason. I'm just doing weed control. I used to mow a lot of lawns, and so I'm doing weed control now. So I know you get asked a lot about weed control, and I was just curious, do you have somebody you're currently sending that business to? If not, I would love to be that person. And sometimes that involved me going to breakfast or lunch with that person. Sometimes it might involve me going and spraying their lawn for free or just meeting them. But I was surprised how many of them really didn't have a person they sent to. They would say, I just sent it to such and such company, you guys. That's just, but I don't really know them. They just the big company in town. I just sent them to them. Well, it wasn't overnight. The website wasn't overnight, and developing these relationships wasn't overnight. But both of those now, several years later, bring a lot of business to me.
I bet building relationships. Your relationships are a big key or part. I think any business.
Yeah, and the right relationships. Like I can get to know. Yeah. I'm saying people talk about real estate agents. Well, I know real estate agents, but to be honest, they hardly ever send me anything unless it's like they want something done tomorrow so they can get their pictures made to sell a house. And I'm not being hard on real estate agents, but like they're usually looking out for themselves, where these mowing guys, they're taking care of that lawn and they want me to spray it so it'll look great, so those are the key relationships where you can get to know. And of course, at some point, some people just know everybody in town kind of thing, and they could start any business and probably make it, because you're right, they just know so many people. I wasn't like that, and so I had to kind of get to know the key people.
Yeah, and a good example is we're building a relationship. We're building a working relationship now that you're using my service area.
Yeah,
and hope that continues. Has that been working well for you?
Yeah, so I got it. I got it hooked up on my. When I was talking about website, like I had some help building my website, but I actually know a little bit about it. Like I play around with WordPress, so I've got like a WordPress site, and it was a plug-in, so I get the plug-in installed, and it's basically like, I said I've got a real small target area right now, and I get tons of calls outside my area, and sometimes it's fine if it's somebody I know I can send them to. And then sometimes I don't have anybody in that area. And maybe because the name of my business is Alabama Lawn Pros, people think I cover the entire state of Alabama, where I actually cover basically one city almost, a few small towns. So anyway, point being, I got it installed, and you basically draw on your computer, draw I wouldn't say a circle, but draw the area that you are servicing in, draw around these towns. And then, because I already had the website set up where I have like this box on there where people can say, put like I said yesterday, I got that guy, he put his name, address, phone number, email, and all that. Well, now when they do that, it'll say, please enter your address. And then if it tells me, it'll say, I get the report like weekly or so. It'll say that so such and such addresses were blocked, so that means somebody went on there and put in, I'm looking for this, but it'll give them a message saying, we're sorry, but we don't service that area. So, it's about efficiency. We've been talking about efficiency, and do I have to answer one more phone call that's irrelevant to my business? And actually, I went on there this morning right before our call. Google, I went and looked at my Google listing, because I get all these calls. People ask me, do I install sod? Do I sell sod? I mean, all kinds of stuff. I'm like, no, I don't sell sod. Like, what makes you think I sell? Anyway, I went on Google, and like people can like recommend your business for certain things, and Google takes. Well, people had me on there for all kind of stuff, and I went in there and started deleting it. And I was like, no wonder people call me for all this stuff. Somebody thinks I do this. And so I started deleting all that stuff. Again, trying to cut down on me being on the phone. I want the real calls, but I don't want the calls that aren't relevant, because it's just one more thing on your day.
Yeah, well, we're definitely happy that you're using the system. Be really interesting to see what happens as the weather gets warmer, and your people start going, hey, I need weed control.
Yeah, March and April are peak months for us, so it's about to blow up.
Yeah, well, we appreciate it, and I just want to say, thank you. I've been watching a lot of the Hype House videos, just learning about. I cut grass when I was before I was in high school, because I've always done side jobs, and I did it in high school, for a bigger company. But it's interesting learning about what you guys are doing, how you're doing it, and what you're doing for the lawn care industry. I mean, I don't know how many hours of videos that you have up there. And speaking of, I forgot, guys that are interested in lawn care that are watching this, Jason has a bunch of helpful information through, free information through his website, but he also has some, would you classify those as how would you classify those, as a course or?
Yeah, so I've got 800 or 900 videos on YouTube. Sometimes I get people they'll email me and say, I'm starting a lawn business. Any advice? And I'm just like, man, go watch all 900 videos and then get back with me with a little more specific question. I mean, I ain't got time to be, but on my website, lawncarelife.com, this is, I have the biggest thing I promote is this weed control and fertilization academy. So there are a lot of people that watch me, they're mowing lawns and they want to get into weed control. They just don't know how to do it. So yeah, it's a video course. I have one for mowing, I have one for mosquito spray, and then I have like just documents. If you want to know like a program to spray your Bermuda grass, like what do I put on the yard and what time of year do I do it and the rates you do it and all that. So there's just documents, but then if you want more like video style, there's the video. So yeah, that's one way we kind of monetize the YouTube channel, selling. But the thing about it is, I'm like, people want to start a weed control business. I mean, I don't know how else you get the information. Like for me, I fortunately had a friend who was in the business who kind of took me under his wing. But I mean, it's not like you just Google like how to start. You mow grass, but like weed control, there's a big learning curve, and people have this healthy fear of I'm going to turn the yard brown, and you definitely can turn the yard brown. Stuff, but so you kind of, I tell people it's like learning a foreign language. You just got to immerse yourself in it. Get somebody that tells you what to do. Just do what they say, but over time, you'll start understanding it. Okay, now I know why I've been spraying that on the yard at this time of year. Because at first, it's too much to learn unless it takes a while.
Yeah. It's very intimidating. That's for sure. I'll have the links to all of Jason's information below for anybody that's interested. But I highly recommend at least following him on YouTube and watching his videos. He shares a lot of information. Well, Jason, I know I've had probably close to 20, almost a little over 30 minutes of your time. I can't thank you enough for talking with us today and sharing the information that you did. If one person gets one piece of golden advice, it was well worth it, right?
Appreciate it, Chris. Yeah, that's part of, people do YouTube and social media and all that. It's like, yeah, we try to make money, but I mean, I get so many comments and people tell you, hey, you really helped me I started my lawn business 10 years ago and quit my job, and I can't thank you enough, kind of thing. So yeah, I mean, I had to have somebody help me. I help people, and it is kind of rewarding. I get burnt out on it sometimes, but
I'm sure
putting out information out there, and like I said, it's not for everybody. I know your audience is into all kind of stuff, but what you kind of mentioned, service businesses are not that much different from one another. I think if you went to do lawn care, what would you do? It will probably be some other service industry, because that's just the way I understand. Yep. I couldn't imagine owning like a retail store or something like that.
Yeah, no kidding. I wish we had more people out there. We need a lot more good out there right now.
Yeah.
So again, a million thanks for everything you do, and thank you for spending time with us today. And thank you all for watching. And we'll see you on the next one, guys.